kindergarten. Good morning. Happy Friday. Today we're going to go back and talk a little bit more about the book that we read earlier this week called Zinnia's Flower Garden by Monica Wellington. Because this is a really fun book and one of my favorites. But one thing that you realize when you read it is that Monica Wellington tells us the steps that you need to do to grow a garden in this story. So when you grow a garden, you don't immediately pick flowers, do you? No. There are steps that you have to go through before you can pick your flowers. And that's what this book is about. Remember, way back in the fall, we talked about how authors, writers of stories have to have an idea, something that really excites them. And Monica Wellington thought it would be really cool to show and talk about all the steps that go into making a garden. And she does that beautifully in this book. I really like it. So today we're going to do a little bit of writing together about the steps that go into making a garden. And then at home with mom or dad, you're going to do your own writing about Zinnia's Flower Garden. And you have the video of me reading that story. If you need to or want to go back and watch it again, you're more than welcome to. But before we start, I want to talk about some words that we're going to use in our writing today. And these are called transition words. And transition words are words that tell a person who's reading a story what happens next, okay? So the first, well, there it is, I said it. The first word, the first transition word that we're going to use is the word first. That alerts the reader that this is the number one thing that happens in the story. So first is a transition word. There it is right there. The next transition we're going to talk about is the word next. And when you're reading a story and you see this word, it gives you a clue that the author is telling you what's going to happen after. What's the next step that will come about? So these are words that let us know that a story is going to tell us about the sequence of events. What's the order that things happen? You might see a transition word. This one we know is then. Then is a transition word. Authors use this word to let us know something's going to happen next. And our last transition word is finally. Finally is a word that gives us a clue that the story is wrapping up. Okay, it's going to come to the end. Finally, what happens? So, we're going to just go back and think about Zinnia's Flower Garden, and we're going to use these transition words to do a little bit of writing about the story. The transition words are first, next, then, finally. Okay? So let's just think about this story, Zinnia's Flower Garden. Now, as I said before on the video when I read the story to you, this is a book that if we were at school, we could spend a lot of time looking at the pictures and the juicy details that she gives us, both in her words and her pictures. Monica Wellington loves to give lots of juicy details to her readers. So today, when we do our writing about the story, we're not going to be able to put every single juicy detail into our writing. Oh my gosh, you guys would be writing all day long. And it would be way too much. Even for me, that would be a lot of writing. So we're going to think about the story and we're going to kind of focus on what are the most important events that happened in the book, okay? Not every single thing. So my first word is first. So what was the important thing that happened first in the story? So I've got to go back to the beginning of the story. And I think the most important thing that happened first in the story is that Zinnia planted her seeds. Okay? That's the most important thing that happened at the beginning of the story. So I'm going to write a sentence that tells what happened at the beginning of the story, and I'm going to use that transition word first. So up at the top, I'm going to write the number 1 to show we're starting at the beginning, and I'm going to say first comma Zinnia, and I could look at the book if I wanted to find out how to spell her name. Zinnia planted. Pull. I hear the p and the o. Pull. Pull. And first, Zinnia planted her seeds. Oh, I see a double whammy right there. I can circle it. I have a high frequency word right here, a new one, I believe. First, Zinnia planted her seeds. That was the first step in the sequence. Okay, so now what happened next that was most important? The next transition word I'm using is the word next. What happened next that was most important? Well, in the story, there were a lot of things that Monica Wellington tells us about. She tells us about having to wait for those seeds and watching, and she tells us about how Zinnia checks her garden every day, and it's full of little green spouts. But I think the important thing is that she has to take care of her garden, right? Zinnia takes care of her garden every day, okay? So Monica Wellington tells us a lot of ways that she does that. She has to water, she has to pull the weeds, she has to look carefully at the buds. But what she's doing is she is taking care of her garden. So first, Zinnia planted her seeds, and then number 2, we're going to use that next transition word, and we're going to say next. N-E-X-T. Next, Zinnia, there's that name again. Now when you do your writing at home, her name will be right at the top of your paper. So if you want to know how to write her name, how to spell it correctly, you can just copy it right from the top. Next, Zinnia took care of her, there's her again, garden. There's that shorty sound, garden. So first, Zinnia planted her seeds. Next, Zinnia took care of her garden, okay? She had to check it, she had to water it, she had to weed it. All right. Then what happened? Well, her flowers grew. We know that they grew, and she enjoyed them, and she got to sit in the garden and read and picnic and enjoy just time in the garden. But then, what did she do? She cut her flowers and she sold them, didn't she? So I think that was one of the reasons that she planted her garden, not just that she enjoyed them, which she did, but also she sold them to her friends and neighbors. So number 3, I am going to say would be then comma, she, and that's our high frequency word there too. She sold. She sold the, I'm going to move Zinnia for a minute, flowers. Full, ow. OW says ow, flowers. Then she sold the flowers. And finally, what did she do? How did the story end? Well, finally, number 4, finally, she did what? At the very end of the story, after she had sold her flowers, what do we see Zinnia doing at the very end? Oops. Aha. At the very end of the story, we see her inside in the winter, and what is she doing? Do you remember? She's planning her garden for the next year, isn't she? She's planning her garden. So finally, she pulled. There's that same pull. We had it in planted and plans. Her. There's her again. Garden. Okay. So I'm using those transition words. First, next, then, finally. First, Zinnia planted her seeds. Next, Zinnia took care of her garden. Then she sold the flowers. Finally, she plans her garden. Okay? And I could add, if I had my correcting tape, I would take that period away, put a little X on it. I would say, finally, she plans her garden. I should say, for next, oh, there's X. We just had X last week. For next year. Okay? So today at home, you're going to get a piece of paper that has lines on it, kind of like the lines I have here. And I want you to write your own sentences for me, telling me the important steps or events that happened in the story, okay? And I want you to use first, next, then, and finally in your writing, all right? You're going to do guess and go writing, and I want you to do the writing. I do not want you to ask your mom and dad to spell all the words for you. Your mom and dad already know how to spell all the words. You are learning to spell the words. And so listening to the sounds and writing down the sounds that you hear, that's how you are learning to spell the words. Does your writing have to look like my writing? Does it have to look just like this? No. I'm an old lady teacher writer. Been writing a long time. You are a kindergarten writer. Your writing is going to look different than my writing, and that's okay. I'm looking for kindergarten writing. You may use your ABC chart to find the sounds that you need and you want in your writing. You can use high frequency words. You can have your high frequency word cards so you can spell those correctly. That's just fine. You can use your Zinnia page to find how to spell her name, and the transition words are on that sheet. But when you are writing your sentences, I'm going to see you sounding out your own words, okay? You're going to put finger spaces between your words, right, in your sentences. You'll start your sentences with a capital letter, and Zinnia's name will start with a capital letter, and you will have punctuation marks at the end of your sentences. Probably it's going to be a period today, but it could be an exclamation point. Probably not today a question mark, but don't forget punctuation, okay? Last thing, real quick. Oh, Mr. Griffith was going to turn off the camera. Nope. I want to show you one last thing. Okay. This is so cool, kindergarten. Here's Monica Wellington. Here is the real author. This is the picture of her, and it says growing, there's growing sunflowers. And Monica Wellington loves to grow sunflowers. They're one of her favorite kinds of flowers, and they happen to be one of my favorite kind of flowers, and I love to plant them in my yard every year. So this says, Monica Wellington grows sunflowers. You can grow sunflowers just like she does. There's the word she. Just follow these simple steps. That's all you need to do. There's our high frequency word, all. Okay, so she's going to show us the steps that we will need. She says you will need sunflower seeds soaked in water overnight, a cup with small holes cut in the bottom, and some potting soil. Okay, those are the things you need to do it. And then she says, follow these steps. And she shows us the order that we should follow, the sequence to plant our seeds. So number 1, fill each cup with moist soil. Moist means just a little bit wet, not soaking wet, a little bit wet. Number 2, poke 3 holes in the soil in each cup. Put a seed in each hole. That was number 3. Number 4, sprinkle a little more soil on the top. Number 5, put the cup in a sunny place. And number 6, keep the soil moist, but not too wet. Okay, so these children are planting this couple sunflower seeds. Now, you have to wait, just like Monica Wellington did, 5 to 10 days later, so you have to be patient. Look at your cups. Do you see little leaves popping up? And in this picture, there are tiny little sprouts just coming out of the soil. Now look at this. 2 to 3 weeks later, remember to water your plants. They will grow big and strong. they will turn into a beautiful sunflower. So I love sunflowers. So I went to the store and bought some sunflower seeds. This kind of sunflower packet has all different kinds of sunflowers in it, kind of like a variety. And I have a cup, and I'm going to take a pointy pencil and just push a hole in the bottom, a couple holes. That's so the water can run out. And then I have some potting soil here. And I'm going to fill up my cup with the potting soil. And then I'm going to poke some holes in. I just like to put the pencil in. And I'm going to take out 3 of my seeds. Who knows what kind these are going to be? Now, I have not soaked them overnight, so hopefully they'll germinate. And I'm going to put 1 of my sunflower seeds right there and cover it up with my soil. And another one in this little hole. And another one in this little hole. Now, I know you're not going to the grocery store a lot right now, but the next time Mom or Dad goes to the store, maybe you can ask them to get a packet of sunflower seeds for you. You can get them at Fred Meyer or someplace like that. And all you have to do now is add a little water on the top and then wait. So put them in the window in the sunshine because sunflowers love sun. They need some sunshine and some water to grow. So then you, just like Monica Wellington, can grow some sunflowers if you'd like to do that. That's a fun project to do right now. All right? Okay, kindergarten, happy Friday. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.